Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining today's women-led panel discussion on career paths in data science. You are all in for a treat tonight. I see we have a solid turnout so far. That is exactly what we anticipated. So as we continue to allow people to join in, grab their cup of coffee or their glass of wine, everyone who's in the chat now, just drop what city you're calling from, or what state, or even what country you're tuning in from. We certainly want to know where you all are from so I can shout out your city. So as folks are letting me know where they're from, a bit of housekeeping. Just the house rules, so everyone knows when they can start engaging with us. So we here at the New York City Data Science Academy, we love an inquisitive audience. So there will be opportunities for me to take in questions from you, the audience, to be directed to the panelists. Or if you just feel so in tune with our discussion, definitely drop your questions or your comments in the Q&A chat or in the chat if you feel so inspired. We do have a bonus for tonight's panel. We also have our New York City Data Science Academy teaching instructors joining in to answer your questions regarding our Data Science Bootcamp courses. So thank you, Helen and Wen-Jing, for joining in. These tech-savvy women will be fielding questions throughout the discussion as well, okay? So I do see a few cities coming through. I see New York City. I see Queens, of course. I also see Chicago. So we have folks from all over tuning in. And that is exactly what we wanted to be able to see. So as I mentioned, tonight's women-led panel discussion is a celebration of Women's History Month. And more importantly, it's celebrating women doing amazing things in data science. The New York City Data Science Academy has brought together a group of exceptional women who have done and continue to do amazing things in the tech world. These ladies will have an opportunity to personally introduce themselves, but it is my honor to introduce you all to our night's panelists. So first, let's start with Kathryn Bryant, a graduate from Bryn Mawr College with a PhD in mathematics. Kathryn worked as an assistant professor of mathematics at Colorado College before deciding to switch gears into data science. In 2017, she took to flight and relocated to New York City and enrolled into our New York City Data Science Bootcamp. After completing the bootcamp, Kathryn got her first data science job with National Grid, and she later joined SeatGeek, where she is presently serving as a data scientist. So welcome, Kathryn. We then have Sheetal Darekar. Sheetal has 9 years of telecommunication experience. She graduated from the University of Texas at Dallas, where she earned a master's degree in information technology management with a major in analytics. She also joined and completed our data science bootcamp in 2018, and she now works at Verizon, where she is responsible for creative brand strategies on predictive analytic insights for Verizon Up. Welcome. And finally, we are in for a super treat as we have Vivian Zhang joining us tonight. Vivian is the founder, school director, and chief technical officer of the New York City Data Science Academy. Vivian carries many years of experience in data technologies and analytics. She also has expertise in multiple programming languages, including R, Python, Hadoop, and Spark. Let me tell you, Vivian's commitment to improving the data science community is resounding. Not only was she instrumental in creating a space for professionals to truly carve out lasting careers in data science, she continues to play an integral part in mentoring her students and members of that community. And it was no surprise that in 2016, Vivian was ranked 9 in Women Leading the Pack in Data Analytics by Forbes. So welcome, ladies, and thank you for joining us today. So the Data Science Academy, who are we and what do we do? To start, the New York City Data Science Academy is an educational, training, and career development institution offering both in-person and online science bootcamps. Our online data science bootcamps are offered both full-time as well as part-time. We are the only bootcamp teaching both Python and R programming languages. And for 5 years running, we have been named the best data science bootcamp, and for 2 years running the best online data science bootcamp by SwitchUp. Who knows? Not only do we provide lifelong career support through our network of 500 plus hiring partners, our students, along with our 2,000 plus alumni, walk away with from the bootcamp with hands-on and practical and technical experience with 4 industry projects under their belts, including a Capstone Project, to add to their resume portfolio. Not too shabby. So for those of you wanting to map out a career in data science, and for those who are interested in learning how you may begin your career training at the New York City Data Science Academy, the enrollment process is fairly simple. Along with our data science bootcamp assistants, you simply just need to log on to our website and submit an application. Definitely share with us your educational and professional background with us. You then schedule an interview with one of our admissions officers like myself, and then you complete your technical assessment, just so that we have a better understanding of your technical and analytical skills. And for those of you, if you are looking to enroll into one of our future cohorts, we do have seats available for the spring. The class start will begin April 6th. We are accepting applications up until March 20th. And we also have a summer cohort, which will kick off July 6th. And we're accepting applications up until June 19th. So for those of you who are interested in considering a career with us here at the New York City Data Science Academy and enrolling into our Data Science Bootcamp, be sure to log on to our website, or you can simply write to us at admissions@nycdatascience.com. So if you have any questions about the admissions process, feel free to log in and drop a note in our chat. We do have our admissions advisors who will be fielding those questions as well. So, as I mentioned, tonight's Women-Led Panel discussion is a celebration of Women's History Month. And more importantly, these tech-savvy women who are breaking the status quo in the data science industry. And I certainly want you all to get to know these ladies a bit more, just as I've been able to. So first, let's allow the ladies to introduce themselves. And we'll begin with Kathryn. Can you share with us a little bit about your background and the work you are doing now?
Sure. So I think you actually did a very good job covering my background up until this point. So I'll say a little bit about what I do in my day-to-day. So both at National Grid and here at SeatGeek, I do quite a lot of analytics in terms of, well, I should say descriptive analytics. So just kind of figuring out what the state of things is, and trying to extract kind of insights from that, so that I can help the business make decisions. There's also a component of my job that has to do with predictive analytics, and that's where all of the fancy machine learning stuff comes in. But yeah, I'm currently working on marketing focused projects here at SeatGeek, and I'm new to that world, so I'm getting to know all of that for the first time, and it's been really exciting. So yeah, that's what I do. And I should say too, I spend most of my day programming, which is one of the questions I get a lot from people. So Yeah.
It sounds as though you are really enjoying and falling into your role there at SeatGeek. I can just tell by your excitement that you are living in your best arena right now.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. And Sheetal, tell us a little bit about your background and the work you're currently doing.
So you mentioned that I have like a very heavy telecom background. So yes, I do. I did my engineering in electronics and telecommunication, after which I again worked with Accenture on telecom projects as software engineer for 3 years. And then I decided to do my master's. After my master's, I was working as a data analyst in a couple of companies when I decided to make that career move from data analyst to data science. Yeah, I moved from Dallas to New York after I found out about the amazing NYC Data Science Academy. I moved here. Then after my bootcamp, I started working with Verizon. So at Verizon, my job role involves feeding insights for offer and marketing strategy for Verizon's loyalty program. It's called VZ Up. And I lead projects that involve building propensity models for these offer strategies, and then targeting targeting people for these offers, and also engagement sentiment analysis for these offers.
Wow, Sheetal, it looks as though you are putting all your skills to the best use. And it's incredible to see how you are just taking leadership and ownership of your career path. Amazing. We are so glad to have you here. And we definitely want to talk a bit more about what influenced you in choosing this career. But prior to doing that, we certainly want to hear from Vivian. And I would love to hear a little bit about your background as well.
I did my undergrad, my master in computer science, and also did my second master in applied math and statistics. I didn't get to finish my PhD. My advice is that go focus on your startup. You can always do PhD later.
Right.
So I founded school in 2013. It was a really difficult experience. But I'm really excited to have the opportunity to build this community. Like, we want to be the coolest data scientist community.
Course.
I feel like I'm building a mafia community. All the top data scientists, all the coolest people in the world.
Absolutely. And you know what? It just shows. Here we have two alumni just tooting their horn on how great their experience has been at the Data Science Academy, and just look at how they're flourishing. We are really creating a mafia of tech women. So kudos to you on just starting that wave. But I wanted to address this question to you, Kathryn, as you certainly had a change and a shift in your career. You started your career in academia, and then you took that dive into data science. What experiences influenced you to pursue a career in data science?
Yeah. So while I was in grad school, I always had kind of an interest in coding and played around with it a little bit. And every time I did, I really enjoyed it. But it was never something I thought that seriously about until I started working as a professor. And while I really loved the teaching component of that, I felt kind of disconnected from my research area and wasn't particularly passionate about that. So I was thinking, how can I leverage my analytical skills coming from math and, maybe use my interest in coding to come up with a different career. And data science was very much the obvious choice. So I ended up researching different boot camps and seeing, what I needed to do to get into them. And I had always wanted to live in New York, so that was also an easy choice to,
Marriage, right?
Yeah.
Why did you decide on the New York City Data Science Academy bootcamp? What was it about that particular bootcamp that made you want to make that transition with this?
I felt like it was the only boot camp that I had read about that started at a pretty basic level, but ended at a pretty advanced level. My sense that most other data science boot camps started basic and ended more or less basic, or started advanced and ended advanced. And I was like, oh man, like I want to, I know where I'm at, which was at a, relatively beginner level with coding especially, but I wanted to get to a point where I could really feel comfortable working as a data scientist. And so, yeah, this was the only program that I felt met those standards.
They checked all your boxes. It's awesome. And Sheetal, was that experience very similar to yourselves? What inspired you to want to pursue a career in data science, and why did you choose the New York City Data Science Academy?
You did. Okay. Sorry, I was muted. So why I chose NYC Data Science Academy, you asked?
What influenced you to pursue a career in data science?
Yes. I vividly remember I was doing a project as a data analyst in T-Mobile, working on an analysis project, analyzing timelines for network tower build. And around the same time, Hurricane Maria had hit Puerto Rico, and my director at that point asked me that, hey, can you tell me how much time it will take to rebuild the towers based on the past information? And as a data analyst, I couldn't do that. And I had to reach out to the neighboring teams who built this predictive model for me. And I felt, wow, so cool. I was so intrigued when I was just running those models at that point, which they built, but I really wanted to understand how did they build that? What was the process? And I started reading about it. And after a little bit of research, I realized that I really wanted to learn how to build this model, get into data science, and started researching different boot camps. I was in Dallas, so researching boot camps in Dallas, Austin, SF. I was like, wherever I get the best education, I'm ready to move. But
I love your adaptability.
So it was like around December or January that I decided to do this boot camp. And it was like a critical moment because, February February is like the bonus time, promotion time, and all of that. So it was very challenging for me to take that decision, but I was like, I have to jump in. If I just push this even by a month, I might change my mind. I don't want to do that. And I also was excited to learn as soon as possible. So I wanted to see the boot camp first before I decide. So I decided on a couple of boot camps in New York. I was like, I'm going to go and check these boot camps out. So I flew here. I visited some of the boot camps in person, and one of the things that I really liked, the warmth. Drace, I met Drace on the first day, and he was like, why don't you just sit in the class and experience it? And I remember I was sitting at the back of the class, and Shu was teaching the class, and the way he was explaining the concepts, I was just sitting there for like 15 minutes, but I could understand what he's saying, and I could see the excitement on everybody's faces.
You must have been so intrigued, and
I was.
You were able to be in the same room with Drace, one of our instructors who lives and bleeds data science. That was truly an opportunity for you to see, is this a world that I see myself transitioning into? And it sounds like it was the best fit for you.
Yep, it was, yeah.
Awesome. Well, to tag off of that, Vivian, with all of your wealth of experience, in your view, what are the technical and professional skills one must have to be a successful data scientist? I mean, we're getting questions from the audience that is a non-math background, a hindrance in wanting to become a data scientist. How, if all, can these skills be learned and acquired, in your opinion?
So actually, I would say like 70% of our students coming from a very strong STEM background, which is science, technology, engineering background. But we do have 20 to 30% of people from non-technical background, like people never code before. We graduate a PhD of English, and she becomes senior data scientist after the program. And a lot of people have math PhD, statistic PhD. They were doing very minimum coding because all they need is a paper and a pen. They're doing really abstract, smart work.
Right.
So when we build a curriculum, we keep it in mind how to explain concept in different level and adapt to the class based on their understanding. So we think in order to become a really successful data scientist, you need to know the number one thing is curiosity. If
Yeah.
you have the curiosity and you really want to know the answer, you can dig deep about the summary of the statistic, the visualization, the modeling. You can utilize big data. You can utilize data engineering pipeline, everything to get work done and solve your little curiosity or be suitable.
Absolutely. So no, you don't need to come in with a math PhD or a master's. It's about, like Vivian said, it's about having the persistence and having that curiosity. And if you are a lover of data and you want to be able to use data to become a storyteller, that is the tools that our instructors need more.
Also, we have very intensive pre-work package, which allow people to pick up the coding ahead of time, like at least give them some level of comfort before coming in, because the curriculum is very intensive.
Sure. And so it's amazing that there is that necessary prep for our students so that they understand what they're undertaking. And that's a great way to transition truly into the boot camp. So for Kathryn, as an alumni, do you remember, and I love this question, a specific experience or subject that stood out to you the most that has helped you currently in your career from your boot camp experience?
So for me, coming from the academic world, it was really helpful for me to have a capstone that was grounded in a business, because, you know, the academic world, you have to, you know, you have this luxury of time where you can make things perfect and it just takes however long it takes. And sure, it's fine if you work on a problem for 20 years, you know, if you get the theorem, like the proof, it's good. But that's obviously not how business operates. And so, and you know, the questions that people care about in business are also very different questions from the ones that people care about in academia. So I felt like the Capstone project was just super, super helpful in getting my head in the right mindset for using these skills in a business. So yeah, I think that's what stood out to me. And I mean, yeah, there were always, like, I enjoyed a lot of the machine learning concepts, learning about those, but yeah, the capstone was definitely the highlight.
And how was it being surrounded by so many like-minded students and peers who were both driving towards the same goal and building up this skill set in data science? Was that also an encouragement for you?
Yeah, it was really neat. So this actually goes back, I guess, to what to the previous question. But you know, for as much as everyone was kind of driving towards the same goal, everyone was coming from really different backgrounds. So people had, you know, lots of different perspectives to share, and that was awesome. Anytime you were working with somebody, they could really, you know, almost always bring in like a new idea. You know, because they were coming from a different place than you.
Right.
So that was really awesome. And then also, I think you have, you know, you have fewer and fewer opportunities as an adult to just like be in this like intensive environment with a bunch of people. And it kind of felt like freshman semester of college or something, where I was like, you know, spending all this time with these people and working really hard. But it was like, we all were working so hard together that it felt like this very, like we were all in it together, and it felt nice. So.
As Vivian mentioned, it was building that mafia, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like the data scientists, and you sort of have to shoulder up through the process because it is intensive and it is immersive and it is an undertaking. But it's the curiosity, it's the perseverance that really helps you see it through, and it doesn't hurt that you're amongst that mafia.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Yeah, it's really a great feeling.
Awesome. And Sheetal, was that experience the same for you? Do you remember a specific experience or subject that stood out to you the most while you were enrolled in the bootcamp?
Yeah, I think like two big things that helped me was great faculties and TAs. Like after every lecture, when you go home and do some self-study, there were like so many questions that I had, and the faculty and the TAs were always available. Kathryn was my TA actually. So she was great. So we had like, I used to like just ask questions on Slack or reach out to them over email, and they were always on their toes to help us. So that was like one of the biggest things that helped me. Second thing was the career fair. So the career fair, the relationship that NYC Data Science has built with these different companies is very important, because I got my job at the career fair. I met my recruiter at the career fair. I scheduled the interview later. And even like when I scheduled my interview, I wasn't sure like how it would go. So I asked Grace, Vivian, like, how should I prepare for my interview? And they told me that I could reach out to some of the guest lecturers that they brought in. I reached out to two great guest lecturers, Bernard and Tim Rich at that point, and both of them responded immediately to my LinkedIn messages. And Bernard called me. Tim Rich was visiting the facility, so I met him there. Their inputs for my interview prep helped me a lot to get this job. So and they responded just because of the relationship Vivian and everyone has created with them, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a pairing of the both, right? It's the instructions you both have received, but also all of the mentoring, all of the one-on-one engagement with our instructors and our career services team, and having access to that network. So as you're ready to enter into the industry that you've been working towards, you have that seamless transition. And it sounds like that was the experience you both as alumni and graduates experience. And so that's what we're anticipating for our students as well. But Vivian, for someone looking to change their career, what should they be aware of in order to be successful in entering into the data science field?
Definitely a lot of work. So on day one of the orientation, probably Kathryn and Sheetal remember, I told everyone, you don't have time to walk your dog. You don't have time to wash your dish. You don't have time to do anything, and prepare to bring your sleeping bag here. So it's a lot of work to make the transition. And also, like in the past, we have students like have PhD from Oxford told us, if it takes me 12 hours per day for 12 weeks straight, including the weekend, imagine how much work it's for you. So it takes a lot of determination, hard work, and smart work to really develop those skills along the way. And also being a great team player really help you to grow in the team environment, because you can prepare for the class, review the class together, also study interview questions, develop projects together. So in the academy, we're looking for people are true team player, people who are determined to make a career transition and are willing to put in the work.
And and I think what was key is what you mentioned, being able to understand what you're undertaking, and being able to really dedicate and commit to the process, because it is going to be immersive, but the end result is so gratifying because it's the gradual accumulation of your skill sets that allow you to absorb as much as possible and really be successful in data science.
Yeah, another thing I really want to mention is a lot of program, like including master program in university, the workload is much lighter compared to us. Because when I design the curriculum, I have it in mind, we're not just supporting our alumni to grow for this 3 months. I want the content can support them to grow the next 2-3 years. So they get exposed to a lot of difficult topic. They get
Oh, it looks like we might have just lost Vivian, but that's quite okay. Our team is working on just bringing her back. But in the meantime, we do have an audience question for both Kathryn and Sheetal. And what they're wanting to know is, share with us what you expected to do in the boot camp versus what you are doing now. Has that shifted for you guys?
So I think, so what we did in the boot camp was a lot more theory, because you're having to really cover a lot of topics, both from a theoretical and an execution standpoint. So it's like, you have these lectures about, say, a machine learning topic, but then there's also all of the implementation of it and the data cleaning and all of that. So so that feels a little bit different from how I spend my time now, because now a lot of what I do is more of just the straight up execution part. And then there are these occasional times when I need to do some research or brush up on a specific topic. But that is what I feel is the main difference in how I spent my time in the boot camp and how I spend my time now. And then I guess to Vivian's point, have significantly more personal time in the real world than I did in the boot camp. So.
I would second what Kathryn said. Along with that, I would like to add that in bootcamp, even in like Capstone or everything that we did, the problem statements were very straightforward. But then in real world, you come across like so many challenges before getting to the final answers, so many assumptions, and you need to have a business knowledge. So all of those things are like different from what we did in like understanding the business along with making decisions at every point and making assumptions at every point.
Awesome. So, and what's great about how you both have evolved, the skill sets you've earned, those haven't changed. Being able to answer a problem theoretically and solve them, those are the skills that you've been building upon while you were a student, and they're still actively being used. And look how far it's taken you in the tech industry. And that's something I definitely want to touch base with you guys, because as you know, women in the tech industry, we have been shouldering our way to really grab a seat at the table, and the industry hasn't been forgiving, right? I mean, research suggests that given the current environment, women can face different challenges in the workplace, and challenges that can make it more difficult to have access to opportunities, network, resources. Sheetal, in your view, what are some of the systematic challenges or barriers that women in the tech industry face?
I think one of the biggest challenge that they face is they do not trust women having enough technical knowledge to solve a particular problem. That's just a general bias that society has against women. So overcoming that is one of the biggest challenge. Mm-hmm. Second thing is trusting a woman that she can take a project completely from start to finish is another challenge that I think we face, that maybe she won't be able to do everything that this project needs and stuff like that. So those are the two important barriers that I think.
And are you finding, Kathryn, those are some of the challenges you faced as well? Being a woman, living and working in the tech environment.
I definitely know that I know that exists, and I think that it's one of the things to actually kind of pay attention to as much as you can in when you're interviewing and trying to gauge the culture of a place. I think certain places have more trust in women than others, and so it can vary. But something I wanted to mention that I think is also an issue is, I guess, I think it's called confirmation bias or something, but it's this notion that that women are more likely to underperform because they're expected to underperform.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's this self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, if you get something wrong, we're more likely to question our own intrinsic abilities than a man might. And we might think it more on, even subconsciously, like, oh, like I don't belong here. Maybe this isn't for me.
Syndrome.
Yeah.
That surrounds that sort of concept.
That's right. And, even though, you might be technically up to snuff, if most of your colleagues are men, it's a little hard when people don't, representation matters, basically. So.
And Vivian, now that we have you back, I'm glad that you were able to reconnect. Are you also finding that this bias the ladies have spoken about, is that something that women are still finding as a challenge, especially in the tech industry? And is that something you face in taking this undertaking and opening up your own academy and boot camp? Are those some of the challenges that you face being a woman in tech?
So people always ask me if you see a bias towards female. I want to mention two things. So first, when you look at people who study computer science, it's only 5%. When you look at people study applied math statistics, it's probably 25%. When you cross them, it's just no woman there. I think like probably 10, 20 years ago, it's already been this trend. But how can we turn this disadvantage into advantage? So probably when you go to Facebook and Google, you will see around 10% are female engineer. I heard the company are willing to pay higher price for those limited amount of female engineer. And I think the main thing for female data scientists is to be aware of the environment and do their best to cultivate the culture to allow more female enter the field, to encourage them to enter the field. Like I started to teach coding to my kids at age 6 and age 7.
The same.
I need to let the woman know you are here to break the rule. You are here to break the boundary. You can do everything men can do. Like there's no discrimination if you can perform as well and better than male.
And that leads us to our next question, Vivian. And that's something I'd love for you to tackle as well. How do we continue to promote inclusion to get more women involved in technology and specifically in technical roles? How do we promote that?
I think I do two things. First, I communicate with all my students. You are here to make a difference for yourself and for the world. So confidence doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from good work, comes from the proof to yourself you can do the work. So hardworking, make sure you learn the material, be able to deliver is the number one thing. So you actually have the level of sufficiency to be a data scientist. Then it's about accumulating knowledge along the way. Keep learning. It's a lifelong career. So you need to keep learning on a daily basis and be better and better.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's about the constant improvement and promoting that amongst women and getting the news out that there are women who are doing amazing things in tech, as you ladies have shown, just so that there isn't that fear of, well, is that an industry I can really break through? Will I encounter obstacles? It's the power in numbers. And it sounds like you guys are really paving the way to just show that women can just be as tough as their counterparts in this industry.
I think for women, I don't know if about you guys, I have an aha moment for myself. I know I can do this well. I know I can do this better.
And it's doing it better. And that's the key word. For you, Sheetal, how can we promote inclusion, especially at Verizon? I know Verizon is really huge on promoting diversity and inclusion. Have you seen that also in your career path as you've worked your way through the ranks at Verizon?
Yeah, we promote a lot of diversity and inclusion as a company that like Verizon does everything they can. But as individual, what we can do is always support other women that we see who needs help, who needs some mentoring, who just need some encouragement and nudge to just that little push that you whatever skills you have are enough to go forward to pursue data science or any career that you want. So always keep watching around us. If anyone needs that little nudge, feel free to give that always.
Exactly. It's always women supporting women. There's power in numbers. And sometimes it's just that extra mentorship and that guidance. And really from women like yourself who have done this in the past and being able to pay it back for other women looking to forage through the same path. It's the support that should be there.
And also we should never be afraid to ask help if we need to, because every woman has something to offer, and never underestimate that, I'm sure. So
never underestimate a woman, key. And what about yourself, Kathryn? How are some ways that inclusion and diversity and inclusion is happening at SeatGeek?
I know that our people team is really, they're really focused on getting people from all different backgrounds, into our various positions. We see at the different levels in the company that there's a pretty even mix of genders, and and so I think they're just trying to walk the walk by doing what they can with hiring. Something I wanted to mention though is that for our part, especially with hiring, just because we as women feel the effects of discrimination doesn't mean that we don't take part in discriminating.
Interesting concept. Do explain.
We all were brought up in the same, or most of us were brought up in similar societies, and so those biases against women are in us as well. And so I think it's something that's just as important for us to be aware of when we're looking through candidates and their work and their resumes and stuff. Check yourself if you feel like you might have a bias yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that we're not immune to that sort of thing, and so it's good to be hyper aware.
And that's a really great point, because sometimes it's not that women aren't able to function in the world successfully, but the hiring process can be a barrier. Mm-hmm. And to your point, being able to not buy into that bias.
Yeah.
That a woman who carries this really great repertoire of experience can be able to manage a job in the tech industry just as well as her counterpart. And that really is a way in which that we can overcome some of the ways in which women just haven't been included in tech industries or in just the data science space itself. So I always like to wrap the discussions like this with women, just so that I can see what types of advice or parting words you can share with the audience. But for yourself, Sheetal, what advice would you give to a woman considering a career in the tech industry?
We don't always have to be a perfectionist. Perfectionist is a very good quality, but if you can bring that one notch down, it's fine. You don't have to we've seen all of those reports where we don't apply to a job because we don't check all the boxes and all. So you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to be imperfect. Just take up the challenge, give every challenge a chance, and go acquire the world.
And that's a good point, right? They always say perfection is a myth, and that sometimes you just have to do it. And if you have those transferable skills, you can do the role and you are able to undertake it. It's a good point. What about yourself, Vivian? What advice would you give to women considering a career in the tech industry?
So first, believe in yourself. I don't see a big difference in intelligence level. Believe in yourself. Second, put in the work. If behave like junior doesn't gonna help you. You need to be able to perform well. then really free your spirit and have the full spectrum of choices of your career.
Good point. And the belief in oneself can propel a lot of insecurities and allow you to get over a lot of obstacles. Because believe it or not, women, we are so much more capable than people think we are. So it's that belief in oneself that really allows you to have those experiences and those opportunities. And Kathryn, what advice would you give to women looking to carve out a career in the tech industry?
I think being brave about, I guess, grasping at opportunities, or being brave. And so what I mean is if there's a project or a task up for grabs, the more you can take those on, the better. And if it's something you don't know if you can do, even more so, you should do it. Because
Just do it.
to Vivian's point, you can fake it till you make it by just, if you have some confidence, and then all of the work that you actually have put in will come and help you get the job done. So I think, the more that you can show what you can do by taking, as many opportunities as possible, the better you position yourself to gain the trust and respect of your colleagues.
Absolutely. It's the practice by doing. And the more you expose yourself to these challenges, guess what? You're actually doing. And so that's a really great advice. And I think that's a great takeaway for many of our audience members who are just chiming in. There's always that fear. Can I even exist in this environment? But it's the habitual practice.
You just got to do it.
And building on those concepts. So we do have 2 questions from audience members, and it looks like we've lost Vivian, but I'll ask the alumni since it's more geared to the bootcamp. After graduating, Sheetal, do you still continuously learn to improve in data science?
Yes, because data science is constantly improving, evolving so much that we have to update ourselves. I keep reading blogs, I keep doing certifications, keep self-studying all the time, and it's important to update ourselves because the industry is changing all the time. It's pretty new, and that is the reason it's still changing, so we have to update ourselves.
Absolutely. It's the constant learning the new cutting edge technology that is being used. And so as, to Vivian's point, someone who is looking to be a data scientist is someone who is constantly learning, and it becomes habitual. And,
and I think constantly learning is in every field. So we cannot just say, it's just data science field you have to study, but data science more so because it's new.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And for you, Kathryn, how can bootcamp graduates prepare for their job search?
Yeah, so I really combed over, I went back through all of the lecture notes and reread them and studied them until I really felt good about the basics. I didn't feel like mastering every single detail of everything was important, but I knew that for the most important concepts, those needed to just be right at my fingertips. And so, yeah, I studied the bootcamp material. I came up with a running cheat sheet of things that I needed to know coding wise, and yeah, it's I still kind of keep that sort of thing around and reference it. So that's my suggestion. And actually, on that note, I'll say if you can maintain, keep up kind of the momentum of the boot camp until you get a job, and by that I mean at the boot camp you're putting in 12 hours a day at least. More. If you can put in more, if you can put in nearly that just for a couple more weeks studying, you're gonna get a good job pretty quickly, and then you don't have to do it for 12 hours a day anymore.
Well, to piggyback off of another audience question, in terms of what you were able to do with your capstone project and your preparation for your transition into the workforce into data science, can you both, as an alumni, can you both share briefly what your capstone project was about, very briefly? And Sheetal, you can kick that off.
Yeah, so my capstone was in part of one of the Fortune 500 beverage companies. I was under an NDA, so I cannot talk more about that project, but it was a great experience because it was a real life problem statement that they had given us. They had shared their real data with us, and because it was a problem that was they were facing daily and we were solving that was very exciting. And faculty and TAs and everybody were helping us a lot to do that.
And that was key. The fact that it was a real life company problem that you were solving. And those were some, I mean, I'm assuming that's some of the roles you all carry now in your present careers. It's solving problems, being able to optimize and create operations that work. And companies benefited from some of the experiences you had at the bootcamp because you had already experienced having those types of problem solving and analytical skills. For you, Kathryn, did you find that your capstone allowed you to be able to perform well in your present role?
Yeah, so this is kind of going back to an earlier question, but it really helped me get into a business mindset. So my capstone was for an ad tech company, and so they gave us actually a huge amount of data to go through, and it was basically about this whole real-time bidding ad world, and we got to basically run an experiment and see, I guess a hind-looking experiment, but see, which kind of bidding strategy would be ideal for their clients. And we really had to bring in our understanding of the business in order to come up with metrics for the machine learning that we did to gauge like which of our models was better. So we couldn't just go with like the canned metric and say, oh yeah, this model's better because of, whatever. That didn't cut it. We had to really dig into the business and say, okay, well, what do we really, what money do we really care about saving? And so, yeah, that's what was really cool about that.
And so from that experience, being able to really take on, as Sheetal mentioned, a real life problem, I mean, it only goes to say that those are some of the challenges you face now, but you understand that you are able to manage those demands because you've been exposed to, to those types of deadlines and requests in your career as a student at the bootcamp. And I think that's what the real beauty is, and being able to have that experience, really take on all of these concepts that you learned and applying them now in your careers. So I like to wrap up the panel with one final question. And this is a question for the entire panel. If there was something that you could say to your younger self that you wish you had known before starting out in data science, what would it be? Kathryn.
What would I say? This is silly, but I find that I still sink a lot of time into getting nice visualizations. And the reason is that I spend so much time on the kind of numerical part of analysis, running statistical tests and whatever, that by the time I get to the point where I'm, trying to present it to people, the the visuals, I have visuals that helped me get to an answer, but they're not the prettiest. And so it ends up taking me a bunch of effort to go back and make things pretty. And if I had just put a little bit more time into my presentation skills, that would really help me, because communicating your ideas and your results to your business stakeholders is a huge component of your job as a data scientist. And visualizations really matter for those people especially. So yeah, I wish, I think I could have afforded and still could afford to spend more time doing visualizations.
But look how you've become that storyteller now, and being able to use data visualizations and predicting and modelization. And now you're, an expert storyteller. So did you know that 10 years ago to your younger self, but the progression was still there, right?
Yeah.
And for yourself, Sheetal, really quickly, what would you have been able to tell your younger self if you had the opportunity before starting out?
I would definitely ask them to meet Kathryn, because she gives great feedback on your visualization projects. I remember all her comments on my first visualization project. So, okay, jokes apart, I think one of the important advice is never be afraid to take up challenges. I think I mentioned this earlier as well. Mm-hmm. We as women are always afraid to make that career move because we are at a certain point in our lives. So not to be afraid to make that shift if needed, take up that challenge, because if you miss that challenge, you might miss a very important opportunity. Mm-hmm. So like every challenge missed is an opportunity missed. So take that challenge, take that chance, and just do it.
And just do it. There is no problem with doing it wrong first, as long as you're able to do it better later. And we're going to wrap these rounds of question with Vivian. If you could speak to your younger self prior to the inception of the data center, the Data Science Academy, what would you have told yourself?
So there is a saying, the best timing to plant a tree is either 10 years ago or now. I started my career and my interest really early on. I started in 1997, and I started to do commercial software development from 2000. So I don't have any major regrets in my career path, because I've been following this path for such a long time. But I have seen a lot of people be told, you cannot do this. So why? I'm not less smart than you. I'm not less committed than you. I'm willing to put all the work. So don't let people say no in your face. Prove them you can do it. And it's your own destiny. It's your own life.
Thank you so much, ladies, for all of these tools of wisdom. I know I walked away with so much more inspiration, and I'm sure the audience has felt the same. We've seen the engagement in the chat. Everyone has been tuned in. And so it's really the celebration of not just women, but also women really breaking the frontier in an industry that, as I mentioned before, hasn't been forgiven. But it's women like yourselves who are breaking the status quo that allow the next generation of women to become true data scientists and really be successful. So
can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
So I always try to do the most difficult thing you can do at each moment. If you don't give yourself an easy path, you push your limit, then eventually you'll gain more freedom. Because a lot of parents will tell their daughter, oh, get an easy job, be a secretary, do business school, and do less important work. That's not what we're born for.
Mm-mm. There is so much more that we can offer as a tribe, and it's evident as we see through the examples of you extraordinary women.
That's right. So my advice is to take the most difficult path you can.
And don't take the easy way out. It's the road less traveled that is the most exciting. So if if folks in the audience, if you've really enjoyed this discussion and do want more information about the New York City Data Science Academy, you can absolutely, we'll drop the our website in the chat along with the link to submit an application so that you can consider a career in data science. You'll be able to meet with folks like myself from the enrollment team to see about how you can be a really great fit for the Academy. So once again, ladies, thank you for your time. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And this was a really great opportunity. And for those who would like a recording of this discussion, it will be sent and you'll be able to also view it on our YouTube channel. So thanks everyone for tuning in and have a great evening.